guys, welcome to the South Florida Magic Leap User Group. We actually have a very special guest who's live streaming directly from San Francisco today. Michael he's the head of business development for Flow Immersive, one of the top data visualization companies, and also an MIT grad, so pretty cool guy. And he just released the very first Magic Leap data visualization app. So I'll let Michael introduce himself right now real quick.
Great. Thanks for me. I'm Michael Domino, VP of Product and Biz Dev here at Flow Immersive. And just as a little bit of background, prior to joining Flow, I was a management consultant. So I like to say that I'm a recovering management consultant and making up for all the time I've spent giving presentations and really seeing Flow as that next iteration of how we better communicate and better communicating with data, and really filling this gap that I experienced firsthand. So what I'll do is let me go ahead and just give you a general overview of Flow. And
data doesn't speak for itself. It needs a story. And you, the storyteller. Introducing Flow Immersive, a data storytelling platform that helps you share data-driven insights to persuade, to sell, to start a movement. And now, Flow is excited to announce compatibility with Magic Leap, forever changing the way we interact around the conference room table and making technology about human connection and data relevant to the people that matter. Us.
And dive in, and I can give you some more examples and actually show you how to build a flow.
That's fine. So the first thing we'll do is we'll have you do a quick tutorial with Thompson back here to show you how to show him how to set it up. So Thompson, why don't you come over here?
Yes,
so he's gonna.
Let me just move this over. If I
So I think, is he in already? Sounds like it.
Yes, I am. I am in there already. Now,
So you should see a screen similar to this. It basically is flow.gl, so anyone can publish to this, and all of these visualizations work across every platform. So it's not just on the Magic Leap, but this idea of when you communicate that you want to communicate effectively across all platforms. And so it works on your flat screen, works really well on all phones, and it works in the Magic Leap. So this idea of building one presentation or one URL to rule them all, as I like to say, is sort of at our ethos. And so let me just jump in real quick just to give you a general overview of Flow. So I think within each of us, we have the power to change the world. And we don't mean that just, we very much mean that. And it's really about that we have ideas, but that if we don't share those ideas, if we don't communicate effectively, nothing happens. And so where we see the largest gap today is between those that are good at data exploration, for finding insights in data using Tableau and all sorts of other software programs to find insights. You could also consider like machine learning and AI as part of that. And then actually explaining those insights to a wider audience, often to a non-technical audience. And so the way we bridge that gap is through data storytelling. How do we tell a story around the data that is effective as credibility building and effective at giving sort of a high-level overview? And so today, there's no real platform that's just focused on data storytelling, and that's the gap that we fill. Right now, and I experienced this as a consultant, you're copying and pasting out of Tableau into PowerPoint, adding some circles, adding some text, and then every time you update the database, you have to keep updating PowerPoint, and it goes back and forth. And so really, this is a full-fledged platform for effective communication. And so how Magic Leap plays into this is that on one axis, we're using more data in our decision-making process. And at the same time, we're moving from a flat world towards this more spatial world. And so where we see the opportunity in this new world is less around using using spatial computing to discover new insights, and more around using spatial computing to communicate more effectively with those insights. And so that's part of why we need to work across all platforms. And so you'll notice that up here we have text that goes over top of our flat screen versions, but actually in the Magic Leap, it's a little bit of a different implementation. And so what I want to show you next is actually how you build these. Because I think for anyone that's built anything for Magic Leap, this is going to hopefully resonate really, or be kind of exciting. So what I'm going to do is just create a flow here. I'll call it, just call it demo, click create. And so automatically we're in a three-dimensional world. What I'm going to do first is add some data elements. We do have some libraries, so we have a global life expectancy file as well as just city data, but you can upload your own CSV file. So I've uploaded some data. I'm going to now add a swarm, which is our main data visualization element. Select the data source, and automatically we sort of see every row is a data point within our data set. In this case being life expectancy over years for a multitude of countries. I'm going to save this perspective and just call it random. And then what I'm going to do is add a new step. And you can think of steps as sort of like keyframes in an animation. And so in this next step, what I'm going to do is create a new perspective and call this lines. And I'm going to change this from random to then actually build a scatter plot. And you can't see the drop downs here, but it's drop downs of the selectable columns in the spreadsheet. And you can obviously upload your own spreadsheet. So I'm selecting year for the horizontal axis, life expectancy, and then just a country index. And so pretty quickly here, you'll see all of the data flow into place, adjust the height just a little bit. And we can also do things like adjusting the size of those dots. So we can scale it based on the population, for instance, as well as we can color this. And so there's actually we have in the spreadsheet, we've added the hex color so that you can quickly select here. And so then I'm going to add one more step. I'll adjust the camera view so you can see this is the full three-dimensional world. And I'm going to update this camera position and then add a connection, which is essentially connecting these dots together.
So Michael, so when you're actually doing the camera connection, right? Are you actually do you use the Magic Leap front camera? Also, do you integrate that here, or is it all like full screen, like basically?
Sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you, Praveen.
Oh yeah,
Could
let
you,
me
get a little closer to the microphone.
Yeah. So basically, when you're doing the when you actually have the headset on, right? Is the front camera taking over the blue area to overlay your real world, like your real room?
Yes.
Or is the blue
Correct.
actually blocking out your view?
The blue is not there, so all backgrounds are removed when you're in the Magic Leap.
All right. And then when you're walking around, is the data pinned to the wall, or is it how is it actually like mixed reality? How is it actually? Is it interacting with your environment anyway, or is it over?
Yeah. So you have a recentering function. Right now with WebXR spec, we don't have the ability to anchor content, but that will be coming in the near future. But right now, you're able to anchor the center point or the origin of the data visualization. But within within Magic Leap, you can do other things like actually select each dot to drill in. We can scale the scene to get a bigger picture. But one thing I want to sort of showcase here is this idea of seeing both the forest and the trees. And this really comes into play on the Magic Leap, where seeing the forest or the overall high-level overview, but then being able to drill in to see some additional context. We zoom into a specific dot. And so I've added some connections here. And what this is every country, or I think it's this selection, 50 countries, looking over the past 200 years. And this is life expectancy data. And really, at the high level, looking at this forest, this is really, one of humanity's greatest successes, that, we live longer, our children survive, but at the same time, if we drill in here, we can actually see some of our biggest tragedies. And so what I can do here is let me add in, if I go back to the swarm. So on select, what I can do, or actually I'll do rollover. Sorry. So every time I roll over, I'll say, have it give me back the country as well as the year. There we go. And so now when I roll over, we can see things like in 1945, World War II in Germany, and let me add another step here, and zoom in here to another data points, and update that. So this is Rwanda in 1994, so the Rwandan genocide. And let me add one more step here, and this one I think actually is one of the most surprising when we went in, is in 1918, and it might be easier to see over here. There's this huge dip everywhere, and I don't know if you guys have a sense for what this dip is. In 1918, any guesses?
Spanish flu, probably in World War I.
Yes, that's right. So it's the Spanish flu that caused this huge global catastrophe. So I'll have one more step here. So, what I wanted to really highlight with this is sort of, seeing that within this one data set, there's all sorts of individual stories that we can zoom into. We can add text overlays, or tell a more compelling story, and we can expand out and do all sorts of interesting things. But what I want to show here is by clicking publish and share, and actually you can pull out your own phones. This should work on all phones. Here in just a couple minutes, we built a data viz that this works on your phone, this works on your flat screen, and this works in the Magic Leap, all from this one URL. And so if you go to flow.gl, you will see underneath the public flows that one we just created, which is...
Can you go back to the QR code? Someone just brought their phone up.
Yeah, let me go back to that.
So I'm using my phone for the recording right now, so someone else has to do it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me get into it. So click on share, so you should see that QR code again. And so as you swipe up and down on that visualization, you'll see basically the thing we just built, which is pretty simple. Cool. But yeah, looking at life expectancy over the last 200 years.
Nice.
Do you guys see that, or was it able to come up on your phones?
Yeah, it came up.
Okay. And so as you scroll with your finger, and there's other things you can do here, so we can add in text to say like this is the start.
So
and all sorts of sort of the narrative that goes along with it. With this idea being that you want to share asynchronously sometimes, so like through email, through posting on the web, that you would have the ability to basically share this without you being there. But then for in-person, you don't want that overlay text, that you want just the model that you're then walking through in the Magic Leap.
So are we seeing the end results, or can we modify it? Is it like read-only when we see it, or?
Sorry, what was that?
So what we're looking at right now from the QR code, is that read-only, or can we modify it on our end?
So you can modify it. So anyone can modify it if you want, and how you do that is there's a little button called Allow Remix. So this allows anyone to pick up what I just built and then edit on top of it. So that's one feature that you could use there.
So now is it automatic, or does it rescan the QR code, or how does it actually update?
So any updates I make here, you just refresh the web page, and on your phone or whatever, it will update as well. So it's always live.
Oh, great. So then when he remixes it, is it create a whole separate application, or is it actually changing your application?
It creates a new one. So it creates a new one under his name or his user ID to then, save his own flow.
Oh, that's awesome. So so basically the whole concept of remixing from a data science point of view, I guess that's huge, right? It's a pretty novel concept. Congratulations on coming up with something so cool.
Yeah, it's
You'd be like a hip hop artist. You type of hip hop art, right? You start doing remixing DJ data scientists.
I like that. Yeah. We think that ultimately, part of the reason we started the company was that, we see some of the world's biggest problems as not being issues of people having solutions or the data being out there, but that we can't communicate it effectively. We're not reaching the right people with the message. And a lot of that's, with climate change. It's like, there's so much data and so much science out there, but why can't we effectively communicate these insights? And that's really our core focus. And so this idea of remixing, and having a data set that someone else has some idea of what the story they want to show with it, I think is a very powerful aspect of it.
Yeah, and I like the concept of storytelling as well. Since you're doing this for Magic Leap, and Magic Leap are some pretty good storytellers, how do you envision Magic Leap-centric storytellers using this to tell data stories?
So I think, what's really powerful about this is everything you saw, there was no coding involved at all. You don't have to learn how to code. If you have any computer can build essentially these flows. So I think we're no longer limited to just this developer audience or just Magic Leapers being able to create really compelling content. I think what we're really planning to do here is that almost every week we're going to try to publish something so that people can see the power and flexibility of the platform to really create and tell compelling stories. And so we have 6 up here as just examples. I don't know if that fully addresses your question.
Yeah, so if you wanted to present this to someone else, right, what would be the difference if they had a Magic Leap versus had a phone?
So the different, you'll still have these next buttons. So we have the main, mechanism of moving through a presentation with next, but there's no camera movements in the Magic Leap because you are the camera, right? As you move around the data model, that won't change. But the animations will still occur. If you're highlighting certain things, that will change. You also have the ability to select certain dots or scale up the scene within the Magic Leap so that you can see it from a different angle. We're working on the multi-user capability so that more people can see the exact same thing at the same time. But that's another sort of current limitation of WebXR that we're working through, but is in the pipeline.
That's awesome. So from a data scientist point of view, storyteller point of view, it's obviously really great use cases. Now, can you talk about from a developer point of view, are there APIs or how do we actually use this as software developers?
Yeah, so, I think, we're thinking of our audience as more enterprise users with a PowerPoint level skill set. Now, that being then said, I think there is a little bit of skill just in terms of familiarity with data and having a CSV, because while we can do images, we can do all sorts of other things that I think are the beauty of our tool is the ability to handle complex data. So I think for more of the developer community, I guess to me, what's really powerful is whenever I show people that publish feature, and if you've ever built an app for Magic Leap before, it's a very different process when you can so quickly update the content to then see it live in the Magic Leap within a few minutes. And so in terms of just prototyping an idea, it's actually a pretty good tool for that as well. So you can think of just let me just go to a few other things that are a little bit more detailed here. But over here you can see we can add maps. So actually have a globe which you can add content to. You can add images. There's actually quite a lot of functionality in terms of building out these text sculptures. And so if you thought about laying out a menu for an application you're working on, that this could actually be a pretty good way to develop or to prototype using WebXR.
That's awesome. Can you show us some specific examples that you use to highlight Magic Leap use cases?
Sure. And sorry, just to reiterate the question,
basically
any examples that highlight specifically for Magic Leap?
Yeah, basically to showcase some of their unique functionalities of having a headset on your face as opposed to using a phone.
Yeah, and Just trying to think here. Have you seen, I think you saw our video, right?
Yeah, I have, but not everyone else has.
Oh, okay. Let me, if I put it in the chat window here,
Yeah, that'd be great.
probably makes more sense to play it from your end versus me to live stream it. Did you get that link?
Okay, let me take a look.
Yeah.
Data doesn't speak for itself. It needs a story. And you, the storyteller. Introducing Flow Immersive, a data storytelling platform that helps you share data-driven insights to persuade, to sell, to start a movement. And now, Flow is excited to announce compatibility with Magical.ly, forever changing the way we interact around the conference room table and making technology about human connection and data relevant to the people that matter. Us.
Cool.
Yeah, man, that was awesome.
Thanks. And what I'd say is that, you know, the point around why Magically, it's less around, oh, I can see this exciting visualization, and it's more that it enables more of a conversation. What's been most powerful to us is when we have Magic Leaps on, we're looking at this data story, that it actually feels more like a conversation with the other person, where the data is between us, we're interacting with it, we're talking about it, versus it on a screen presenting down to you, where it's more talking at you in some sense versus a natural conversation. That it really changes the dynamic. And I think that's, to me, probably the most exciting thing about what Magic Leap is really enabling. It's a different type of meeting where it's about the other person, it's about telling stories and empathizing with the data itself.
That's awesome. So in the videos, the video just now, were they using like the hand controller or hand tracking, or how are they actually manipulating the data or turning the globe around? Some of the
using the controller. We don't have hand tracking yet. Another sort of current limitation of the WebXR spec, but we're it's in the plans. I'd say. Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, might be hard to do for now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome though, especially as a version 1. It's great job. I mean, we've seen a lot of as a user group, XR user group, we've seen a lot of really cool stuff, but this is by far one of the best. So really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our group?
Just that we are a young company and we are here for you. So definitely reach out. We really want to speak to anyone trying to do anything with our platform. And if you have any issues, I will be there to help you along the way to get over any hurdles. So we're here for you. So definitely reach out. Thanks again for hosting me.
Definitely, yeah. We'll definitely reach out. We have some our large con coming up. Our game developer user group con. So we'll create some demos. We'll show you. Well, I think one of the ideas we have is climbing your data, actually creating a whole big data concept, right? Actually, making big data, having ladders at University of Miami. We actually climb your data. So we'll create some cool little storytelling type thing, and we'll definitely keep you apprised of our progress.
That's great. Yeah. What I found interesting as we've been using our platform more is that the hard part is not the tool, actually using it to build whatever you're trying to build, but it's actually how do you lay out information using 3 dimensions in a logical way. So I think when you think about giving a presentation, a lot of times it's you have a slide, go to the next slide, slide. It's a very linear story. And in some sense, now that you have a three-dimensional space, instead of thinking of it more as a hierarchy, like what is the hierarchy of these different points and how does it fit together into a narrative where you can see the whole picture and then zoom in to certain contexts.
Yeah, from that point of view, like we saw a lot of things floating in midair, but what about trying to pin data to a wall and actually having a data room, for example?
Yeah, that's a good question. We haven't, that's something we haven't experimented with as much.
I guess that's a to-do for our user group.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, we'll try to figure something out for you. I mean, that's a good use case for our user group.
Yeah, I mean that's part of the beauty of having people in our system. It's, at the end of the day, we're not designers, we're tool makers, and so we're really excited to see what designs or new sort of the best practices for how do you create these data sets or data visualizations.
So we actually have some questions. Let me turn the floor over. If you, go ahead. You got to speak up though because he's hearing it from. But you got to be in camera range as well. Yeah. But I mean, we can see you from here. But
So
you got to be. Actually, that's fine. Yeah, go. No, you. One. You can. Either way, whatever you want. It's fine.
So I've got a question for you. What is actually being used to, like on the back end, what is actually being used? You said that you're not like developers, so it's more of a visual. Is it like one of these Azure type of applications or that you guys are using to actually develop?
Yeah, so we have, and just to reiterate the question, you're asking what are we using on the back end?
Yes.
To create all this, or
Yes.
how do developers use our platform?
No, exactly on the back end. What is it that you're using?
Got it. So this is all running on WebXR, so it's a lot of 3JS that the application was built on. But really this front end, I'm not sharing my screen, sorry. The front end layer of basically this general UI is the way you create the flow. Sorry, I don't know if I'm fully understanding the question.
So basically, I mean, there's different ways to do an app in Helio browser, right? I mean,
Yeah.
So did you use MagicScript, or how did you actually like get this from point A to point D of actually us using it now? I mean, MagicScript has its own version as JavaScript, for example.
Got it. Yep. So most of our editor is built on a lot of open source components like 3JS. And it's not MagicScript, it's not Prismatic, it's true like WebXR spec that is running all of this. And so that's sort of how it's able to work across platforms and all that.
That's awesome. So Ralph, why don't you come up so you're on camera?
Come up here.
Yeah, it's just on so you're on camera.
As far as your data sources go, what are they? I mean, what are we restricted to any type of file source or relational model, or how does that?
I'm sorry, I'm having a little hard time hearing.
Should I be closer?
Yeah,
here?
I guess
Yes, indeed.
Okay, as far as your data sources go,
Oh yeah.
so are we looking at a relational database for your data source and I heard you mention CSVs, so that would be data dumps or something along those lines, and does this have the ability to look into historical data over, say, that was stored in a data warehouse, and how fast can you realize the model the changes?
Got it. So the main file type we've found is that typically when someone's telling a data story, it's sort of at a point in time. So I have this data, I found some interesting insight or relationship I want to share or communicate. And so we don't focus as much with real-time data, although we have done real-time integrations. So it is possible, but the main use case is not that. And the main file type is a CSV file. And so it's essentially just an Excel file, more or less. And if I just show the library real quick, you'll just get a sense. So basically it's any data set that has a header. So you'll see this header row has just the different data points, and then any sort of data within each of those columns that's relevant. So any data set will work. We've worked, so there's a lot of open data sets from the UN, from Google, and your own corporate or enterprises have tons of data sets and Excel sheets that they're working on.
That's amazing. We actually have chief data officers for the Code for Fort Lauderdale, Code for Miami, at different cities that we work with. So yeah, we'll show it to them. Also, actually, half our members are upstairs right now for Global Entrepreneurship Week. NASA Technology Transfer Office is doing a talk upstairs, so we'll bring them down and show this to NASA and all the people who came in from Cape Canaveral today.
Awesome.
So are there?
Yeah, and I should have started with the video, I realized, so sorry about that.
Yeah, that's fine. So any other questions?
Like maybe the library closes.
All right, Michael.
What did you think? So you saw it in the Magic Leap, right?
Tom, yeah, why don't you, what did you think, Thompson? All right. He's giving you the thumbs up.
Okay.
So that's actually pretty good. He's actually our lead graphics designer for our community games. So
Yes,
he's actually building a Magic Leap Helio game as well. So he's the one who would know.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Well, looking forward to hearing any other feedback, and I'm always here. So thanks.
All right.
It'll be a
Great.
pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, bye.